Today we're covering the causal argument chapter, or you can look at it as the cause and effect chapter. But I've written a question on the board. What causes or has caused the rise in the divorce rate? So let's see if we can answer this question. What are some causes, do you think, that are responsible for the rise in the divorce rate?
It's a little more socially acceptable now than it was 30, 40 years ago.
Yes, it is socially acceptable.
They're also a lot easier to get, I'd say, than they probably used to be. Part of the paperwork and stuff like that, I mean, there's usually a process to it, I would,
Uncontestable,
No fault.
no fault. That's
Yeah,
what it
no
was.
fault. Yeah, there's still some states that do not have no fault divorce. So you have to have a reason. Usually that reason is abandonment, abuse, infidelity.
Well, I know in California, you have to, even if you file it, you still have to wait 6 months before they even start processing everything.
Yeah, so
There's
you
a-
just
there's
can't.
a wait period. Yeah, it's not, as some states you can in and out, and some you
Yeah.
gotta wait, and I guess they give you a chance to rethink it or.
Right, so
make
that
sure
it's
what
not
you
such
wanna
a
do.
rash decision, I
Yeah.
guess. You have a fight and file for divorce, and the next day you're married, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're divorced. So it's easier, both in, kind of the time frame and the process that you have to go through, and even the reasons that you need, or in this case don't need, to get a divorce. Casey?
Economy, like money.
Yeah, people get divorced. I'm just gonna put money here. I mean, that kind of, people get divorced
My uncle
because,
just went through divorce just because of money. That the woman was a shopaholic, so he just got a divorce because of that. They were in love, but it wasn't like that.
yeah, you're right,
That's-
Lynn, that's,
Yeah, it is.
that's the number one,
It is,
or
that's
seems
the number one.
the number one causes.
Independence of financial independence of women. A woman doesn't have to have a husband to survive anymore.
Yeah, that's a big one there too. It's the I'm just gonna put the independence or opportunities, independence for women. Now women have a lot more opportunities to have a career on their own. Whereas 50 years ago, you were stuck. There weren't a lot of opportunities for women, especially women with children. I mean, it just really wasn't possible for a lot of women, no matter what the circumstances, even in situations of abuse and infidelity and that sort of thing. So now that women have those opportunities for financial employment, that's a big, we might argue that may be the number one cause for the rise in divorce rate. Now remember, we're not just talking about causes for divorce. We're talking about causes for the rise in the divorce rate. So, I'm
Seems
gonna,
like-
I'm gonna go ahead and put the economy on here because that is a little bit different than just squabbling
Yeah.
over how.
With the downfall of the economy, it's probably made it more stressful.
Yes, and that's the key here is just, stress. Did you
Seems
have-
like people get bored with each other a lot quicker nowadays, or more apt to cheat, or if it's just, like I
Marriage
said,
isn't
more
serious
social acceptable.
anymore.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, people get bored and tired of it after a couple of years and they move on.
Yeah, so it's not taken seriously.
Yeah,
Which, again, goes back to kind of our,
socially
Social-
acceptable thing, yeah.
I mean, it is more socially acceptable, but I guess you could, maybe even put it, a loss of
Interest.
morality. I mean, a promise is not a promise anymore. It's I do until I don't,
Decide not to.
until I don't
Yeah.
feel like it
I do
anymore.
until something better comes along.
Yeah, so we kind of have a loss of morals, a loss of standards. Decline. Casey?
Some, like kids, because some people get married just because they have kids together and stuff, and then they get divorced
When they grow
because
up.
of them being in a state or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, that's another thing that couples fight over.
Oh, yeah.
Well, also,
Kids.
seems it might go in the money category, but I mean, nowadays, woman divorces man, she gets half everything he's got.
Mm.
She gets sick of
Hey,
it, she
that
just
can go
divorce
the
him,
other
take
way,
his money
too.
and be gone.
That can definitely go the other way.
Yeah.
Well, it can, but I mean, more apt than not, the courts are always in the woman's favor over the man. Man has to prove himself,
But
prove the woman's unfit, as opposed to the woman automatically gets the upper hand when it comes to court with kids or divorce or something like that. You know, it's never, the man has the upper hand, it's the man having to prove the woman. Like I said, I'm sitting in
Yeah,
class
and
with
that's a
girls
shift.
trying to argue this, but I mean, it is the way it is in the court.
And that's a shift, because it used to be that women didn't, if they got divorced, they didn't get anything. They didn't get the kids, they got nothing. And there's a huge shift almost, that now, I think for the most part, and not every case, but for the most part, it's the women who get at least the children. There are a lot of exceptions, and that might be kind of shifting again back the other way a little bit now too. But you're right, that does have to do with money and, you know, who gets what, who gets the house and who gets the dog and who gets the whatever. Any other reasons you can think of for the rise in the divorce rate?
I think like the maturity level of them, that they change as they get older, a lot quicker now.
Okay, so are you saying that people are getting married
Too young.
less mature?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't really have to do with age. I
Well,
think it has
yes,
to do with,
Yeah, I think you're right.
They're getting married later, like average age increase
yes.
to late 20s, I think.
Yes, the average age that people are getting married, their first marriages, that is, their first marriage, is getting older, but
Nobody's growing up.
the maturity level is getting younger, I
Yeah.
think.
Well,
'Cause
society's
people,
schooling so much anymore, there's not,
you know, I mean, we want to be kids until we're, you
Right.
know, 40 sometimes, and
Not me.
so that maturity level, because we're a society that we put a lot of stake in children and childhood, and you know we want the best for our children. That's what every parent says almost. I want my kids to have it better than I did. You know, so we kind of coddle them, and we have a lot, you know, at stake in, you know, the concept of childhood, and so it, you know, it drags on for a lot longer than it should now. I think childhood does.
And another thing is maybe it's not that economy is better now, but it's been growing over time, and it's easier for people to survive on their own these days. It used to be you need to have a partner, it's cheaper to live together, and now you don't have to have it anymore.
What's
And actually, there are some studies that are coming out recently about how some people are choosing not to get divorced who otherwise would have, because they can't afford it. They can't afford to live
Yeah.
separately now. I've actually read quite a few articles about that. Couples who would have gotten divorced had they been more prosperous, but now that they've lost their jobs, they can't afford to now, so they're staying together. Which, you know, maybe that's not a terrible thing.
you're probably getting a lot of vice versa on that too, because a lot of people economically can receive help if there's not a spouse involved in a picture, like if there's government help at hand or you know, benefits from a state, whatever, whether it be food benefits or insurance benefits or whatever, they can probably get more if it's just them and the kids than they could. So you're probably getting a lot of divorces and people still living together.
Because it's financial, and yeah,
Yeah.
I can totally
I can see that.
happening, because I've heard a lot of students say that even though they have kids with their significant other, they choose not to get married because they can draw all
Yep.
kinds of welfare benefits. So, you know, it's like the system is, you know, breaking up marriages. Not really, I mean, that's a cause of it, but I mean, people do what they want to do.
I know some people, they didn't get divorced, but they purposefully didn't get married because it goes with there's another, she has a autistic son, and if she got married, then she couldn't receive
Mm-hmm.
aid. So yeah, it just kind of ties into that, but.
Yeah.
Well, it's sad, but
Yeah,
people that
because I mean,
try
that
to-
same system, I mean, it does help people
people that are trying to
who
help
really need it.
themselves
Some
Yeah.
people do need it,
can't
you're right.
make it.
Because, yeah, I mean, you do have some people, you know, who get divorced, and, I mean, you know, if I were to get divorced right now, you know, I have 4 kids, and this job doesn't pay enough to feed those 4 kids. And, you know,
And you wouldn't
Be
get
thankful
any
it's
help.
I might be looking
Yeah.
at welfare if
Absolutely.
my husband chose to split.
And
you know.
what's
You'd have
sad
to
is
quit
they
your
don't,
job if
yeah,
you're getting
you're exactly
welfare.
right.
That's
They won't help you at all, and it's really sad, but
But that's why.
Been there,
most
done
people
that.
Live together and don't get married because, I mean,
Okay, so what are, any other that you can think of?
Say maybe the rise in technology.
Technology, okay.
Facebook.
You're probably dead on.
Yeah.
And that
Get
has broken up
relationships,
many
Facebook.
marriages.
Yeah, I'm thinking,
A lot of
how many
online.
couples do you know that got split up
A
because
lot.
I know several.
I know.
It's always
Facebook?
over something stupid. It's just-
Facebook was, you know, somebody got hooked up with their old boyfriend because they found him on
It's
Facebook.
just a trust issue that.
I was even thinking like maybe because of television and games, you know, there's less talking and less, you know, quality time spent together, so people drift apart. easier.
Absolutely, yeah.
and that kind of replaces the communication that people do, so if you don't have the
I think it's harder to get away with stuff now than it used to be, so maybe that's what it's doing.
How so?
Well, I'm saying on Facebook,
Are you
like you said,
married?
no, I'm not married. I'm just saying, it just seems like it's a lot harder to get away with stuff than, you know, before computers and Facebook and stuff. Now, you do anything and somebody halfway across the country knows what's going on. Whereas before Facebook, you know, nobody was out there posting pictures and putting quotes and Twitter and all that stuff. I mean, it's, I mean, I've known a lot of relationships that have ended because of something stupid that was put on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Trust and stuff like that.
Well, that's why you shouldn't have Facebook if you're,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have my maiden name on my Facebook account.
right.
I don't need, you know, in the past,
Right.
you know, dragged into my life. So, anyway. Okay, well, those are some pretty good causes there. Okay, now let's do, let's change this a little bit. What are the effects of the rise in the divorce rate? What about that one?
More single parent
A lot more children growing up, yeah, without 2 parents or, you know,
With
going
another
back
parent.
and forth or.
That's not really theirs.
Yeah, single parent homes, we've got, say step parents.
Yeah.
You know, kids nowadays can
extended
have
families.
12 different parents. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they've got real mom and dad, and then they've got stepmom and dad, and then, you know, they've got you know, their half brothers, mom and dad. So, yeah, we've got a lot of blended families, maybe. so there's obviously the nuclear family. The nuclear family is declining. That would be mom and dad actually living with the kids, their own kids, that is. So the nuclear family is on the decline. Single parent homes, step parents. What are some other effects?
Financial independence. Which could be good or bad, I guess.
Yeah, so, yeah, good, yeah, I can see that, good or bad. So now you're only responsible for yourself. You know, you don't have to pay your spouse's, who's a shopaholic, you don't have to pay their credit cards or, you know.
The car payment.
Yeah. But then also, you don't have that extra cushion there either. If you lose your job, you're SOL, you know, as opposed to having, you know, at least a spouse to cushion you from disasters like that. Tanya?
I don't know how to say this short way, but my parents recently got divorced after 28 years, and my mom had almost an associate degree, so she had some education, but she raised my brother and I, and she worked as a teacher's aide, and when they got divorced, she had no real means of supporting herself, so maybe there's a lot of people having to like go back to school later in life to be able to become financially independent, because she thought that he would, you know, take care of her, and I mean, she always worked, but not enough to sustain herself, to take care of herself. I don't know how to really phrase that.
Right, and it also, and this is for, you know, well, I'd say this, you could direct this mainly at women who give up a career to raise children, and then something happens, you know, they're left with,
Nothing.
don't get paid to raise those kids. So, I mean, that's a real.
And she's
Yes.
going to school for something that she's not really. She's going to school for nursing, and it's not really what she wants to do, but it's what she feels she'll be able to get a job in the easiest. So she's killing herself right now. She's doing it like an accelerated program, and so, you know, divorce can, well, I guess sometimes it's not that bad, but so it's just really stressful for her to try to get herself back on her feet.
Yeah, I'm gonna put like a rise in stress levels here, but I mean that could. Yeah, so I understand what you're saying, but how to
Yeah.
how to narrow that down.
What is the non-traditional, you know, students and all that kind of
Yeah, I mean, and there's like just, you know, a change of lifestyle. I mean, that really doesn't quite encompass it either, because I mean, it's a whole change. I mean, I'm just talking about, you know, the style of living, but it's a change of, you know, your whole financial / social /
stuff.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just a huge, you know, almost someone's life is just turned upside down, basically.
But my dad's doing okay. He's got his nice job and all this kind of stuff. So
Yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna put here like, you know, loss of help me here, guys. Loss of
Life.
support. Yeah, we'll put loss of support or. Yeah, it's hard to articulate the.
It also affects the economy, of course. People not spending as much money because they have to worry about taking care of their own, you know, house. If you get your own house, you know, food and all that stuff. I mean,
That should be
But-
good for economy instead of one.
Well,
house,
not
well,
necessarily,
you're
it might be
buying
good
two
for the houses, you know, you might be renting out apartments, but they're not buying stuff for their kids, toys, buying new cars, because they need to put a roof over their kid's head. It may help an apartment, but it's, you know, economy, but as
Right.
far as
If there's,
luxuries go, no, you know, people won't give it, and not to mention, you know, people are gonna need help from the government, which
Right.
also puts that
Deficit, budget
in a
deficit.
deficit.
and so, you know, the economy is negatively affected.
There's probably a lot of discipline issues that are coming out of divorce today. I mean, you know, 10 years ago, you either had a good kid or a bad kid, and now you could have a kid with A disorder, B disorder, C disorder. I mean, you know, it's,
Yeah. And,
Affects the kids.
yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, you can't deny that it affects the, you know, I'm just gonna put, I mean, well, gosh, we could make a ton of lists here about the effects that it, you know, can have on kids, and it does have on, you know, many kids. And that's not to say that, you know, some kids aren't, you know, okay by it, but few kids
Sure.
survive a divorce unscathed. My parents divorced when I was over the age of 30, and about having a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
Seriously, I mean, it was
It's not easy
devastating.
on anybody, I don't
No.
think.
So I can't imagine if I'd have been 5 or 10,
Right.
what it would have done to my already messed up psyche,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, I'm just gonna put negative kids. So we have, you know, especially in, I mean, there's all kinds of statistical information of parents who, or kids who grow up either without a mom or without a dad. You know, the girls who grow up without a dad are more likely to get pregnant at a very young age and out of wedlock, and then the boys, you know, are who grow up without a dad are more likely to, you know, do something violent, get in trouble, you know, get in trouble with the law, kind of thing. Again, that's not across the board, but the numbers are there, and they've been there for a long time. So. And obviously these are, well, it's all related probably. But
Maybe like a rise in drug addicts or alcohol abuse.
Definitely. Addiction.
yeah, rise in addictions, I would say. And that could be for the divorced people and the
And the
children.
kids.
Right.
yeah.
See, we can blame everything on divorce, the economy, addiction.
Everything's divorce fault.
A demand for counselors.
Demand for what?
A demand for counselors.
See, that's what you guys should be getting into, counseling.
Therapy bills.
Demand for therapy. I'll blame it on our parents' divorce.
What is the rate, like 40 or 60% or something nowadays?
Was
The divorce
fifty.
rate?
Is
It
it
was
40 or
high.
60? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was, 50 was the last number that I read, but that's,
Looks like
That's
right
the-
there, half, over half, something like that.
well, that's half of the number of marriages. So that means, I mean, some people get married 10 times, so that
Yeah.
really raises the rate. So it's not half of all couples who get married or, you know, get divorced, but it's half of all
Marriages end in
So,
divorce.
yeah,
You got
I've-
some
So really your numbers are
not
higher.
getting 3 or 4 in there.
Yeah, so those who have, you know, 3 or 4, or 5 divorces bumps the number up a little bit, but still, I would like to know what the number is
For
per
some reason, I want to say, I
marriage.
saw it not
or
so
per-
long ago, I was thinking it was close to 60, but I might have been wrong. I'm not
It could
100%
be by now,
sure.
I don't know. That was just, 50 was the last number I remember reading about.